Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English summary, a just and a translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Qamaruzzaman Sahab Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Friday, the 3rd of Jumadul Akhirah, 1443, corresponding with the English date, 7th of December 2021. This Majlis took place at the residence of Hazrat Wala Damat Barakatuhum after the Ishraaq Salat. Hazrat Wala says that this Risala came to me, Asharu Qawaid fi Tazkiyatin Nufus, and then I added to it, and I have now a kitab in front of me, Dasturus Salikin. Now this Tazkiyah Nafs, 10 principles which are necessary for all of us to adopt so that our souls and our nafs can become completely pak, pure and purified. And if this is not done, we would leave this world. We would pass away without the soul and nafs of ours being purified. How would we ever gain success? Allah Ta'ala is saying, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Indeed has achieved success the one who has purified it, his nafs. So a person, the sixth principle that we are discussing today, it reads, locking entrances which remove man from purification and cast him into evil. Locking entrances, we should lock those entrances which will remove us from purifying our souls, and it will cast us into evil. A person is in a dire need to shut the windows which sully and trample his nafs, his self. The Sunnah presents a parable to us which explains how dangerous it is for a person to get occupied in anything which destroys his deen. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has mentioned, Allah Ta'ala sets forth the example of a straight path which is walled on both sides. The walls have doors which are open and over which curtains have been suspended. There is a person at the entrance of the path who is announcing, O people, all of you enter this path and do not wander about. Another person is announcing from above the path. When a person tries to open any of the doors, the announcer says, Whoa, do not open it, because if you do, you will enter through it. The path refers to Islam. The two walls refer to the limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The open door refers to prohibitions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the collar at the entrance of the path refers to the Quran. And the one above the path refers to the admonisher who is present in the heart of every Muslim. So, one is shahawat, this lust and passion and desire within insan. And that is displayed by means of our jawarih and our organs. The other one is shubuhat, which attacks the mind and the heart, the aqal of a person. Now Hazrat Wala then quotes the ibarat and the text. He says, ضبط قوة الغضبية والشهوية على وقف الشريعة. That good character is actually to control one's anger and to control one's lust and desires, like how the Shariat has designated it for us within those demarcated areas. Exactly what the Shariat has told us to do, we would do that. That is actually husnul khulq and good character. If a person moves away from this, he comes out of good character. So the anger should also be kept in moderation. And this was, what was it? The path which our Buzurgan-e Deen taught us. Look at Qalb, Muallam. the trained dog which is used for hunting. How well trained this dog is. It drops the prey and then it keeps it there. It wounds it a bit if need be, but it's got its foot on the neck. It's got the prey down. But it will not start eating and feasting from that particular animal. There was a Hakim, and he was a very great, बहुत ज़बरदस्त, गैर मुक़ल्लिद आलिम. He was a very great गैर मुक़ल्लिद आलिम. On one occasion, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab went to him, and he had with him the kitab Tarsi'ul Jawahiril Makkiyah. It's a fantastic kitab, and he related from this particular kitab to this Hakim, and can you believe it? He accepted it. He accepted what Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab had said to him. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that we should purify our nafs and our soul, but we do not even pay any attention to it. So how would we ever make taraqqi and progress? Ibn Rajab Hanbali rahimahullah says that the person who is in this world has left steadfastness on the path, opened the doors of prohibition which are in the walls on either side of the path, and entered them either by committing unlawful desires or doubtful actions. And that's just what we spoke about now. One is the shahawat, which becomes apparent by the organs, by the hands and the legs, and the shubuhat, which attacks the mind and the heart. So the spiky hooks which are on either side of the path have hooked him in relation to how many doors of prohibitions he opened and entered in the world. Allahu Akbar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this regard, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. Say to the believers to lower their gazes and to safeguard their private parts. ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ. In this there is much purity for them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا يَصْنَعُونَ. Surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows whatever they do. Now, قال أبو حيان الأندلسي, Abu Hayyan al-Andalusi rahimahullah ta'ala said, قدم غض البصر على حفظ الفرج. That lowering of the gaze is mentioned before safeguarding of the private part. We just quote the ayah to you now. Allah Ta'ala has mentioned the lowering of the gaze before He speaks about safeguarding of the private parts. And what is this about? Because the gaze is the precursor to adultery. لأن النظر بريد الزنا. It is the precursor to adultery. ورائد الفجور. The one which steers a person towards immorality. وَالْبَلْوَى فِيهِ أَشَدُّ وَأَكْثَرُ. And its tribulation is severer and excessive. So, casting the first gaze, mistaken, accidental, that's forgiven, it's maaf. But the second gaze, a person would be taken to task for that. And nothing stops him at that time to cast the second gaze except the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he lowers his gaze at that time, and what does he get in exchange of that? The halawat and the sweetness of iman which would be thrown into his heart by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. The Hakim Akhtar rahimahullah used to speak about this here abundantly. He used to speak about this abundantly. Called a Sheikh Sa'di rahimahullah says that the person who safeguards his private part and gaze, the filth with which immoral people are sullied will be purified, and his actions will be cleansed by virtue of abstaining the unlawful which the carnal self hankers after and invites him to. Whoever desists from something for Allah's sake, He recompenses him with something better. فَمَنْ تَرَكَ شَيْئًا لِلَّهِ عَوَّضَهُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا مِّنْهُ. The person who desists from something for Allah's sake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will recompense him with something better. مِنْ حُسْنِ إِسْلَامِ الْمَرْءِ تَرْكُهُ مَا لَا يَعْنِيهِ. This is why the beauty of a person's Islam lies in discarding whatever does not concern him. It applies to futile speech, futile casting of gaze, and so on. And so on. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us the dua, Allahumma a'atini imanan la yartaddu. Oh Allah, bestow me with such iman after which there is no apostasy. وَيَقِينًا لَيْسَ بَعْدَهُ كُفْرٌ. And with such yaqeen after which there is no belief. وَرَحْمَةً أَنَالُ بِهَا شَرْفَ كَرَامَتِكَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And with such rahmat, which would be the means of gaining the honor of your grace in this dunya and in the akhirah. Now what can we say and what to do? Alas, today even the people of the khanqah, the people of the madrasas don't have fikr. They are so engaged, they are so caught up in mutual arguments and disputes, following their desires. So how will they be hifazat of the deen? You know, there's a long hadith in Mishkat Sharif that when a person passes away and his soul is going, and then his soul is welcomed on the different stages, Kareem ibn Kareem, and when a unworthy person goes, then the announcement for him is La'im ibn La'im. One was the honorable, the son of an honorable person, and the other one was the disgraceful person, the son of one who was disgraced, a sinner, a wicked person. So, wasawis are coming. I deal with this on a daily basis, Hazrat Wala is saying. Whisperings of the shaitan come and start flooding the heart and the mind of a person so much, those whisperings that will make a person doubt the akhirat, doubt the deen, and put him into so much of pareshani. So, what happens when those whispering comes? He starts following his base desires, shahawat, or shubuhat. Doubts start coming into his heart and his mind. Allama ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah, said, futile speech and futile casting of the gaze are the propellants of the most evil actions. Allahu Akbar, just listen to that. Futile speech and futile casting of the gaze are the propellants of most evil actions. These two are the largest entrances. What's that? The eyes and the mouth. These two are the largest entrances for shaitan because they neither get tired nor fed up. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. A person should therefore remain sharp and intelligent. He must ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for patience and salvation. He must sever every path which would contribute to the destruction and deprivation of his self. The deen of a person is his capital. Allahu Akbar. The deen of a person is his capital. If it is lost, he will suffer loss in this world and in the year after. This is more so in our times where temptations are falling on people like raindrops. The doors of doubts and desires, shubuhat and shahawat, have opened wide through these modern gadgets, dubious internet sites and deviated programs which have driven many people towards eternal destructions and diverted them away from guidance. We beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for soundness Ameen. Hazrat Wala thereafter goes on to quote ayat of the Quran Majid. فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه. The person who fears standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى, and he prohibits his nafs from base desires. فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى, then Jannah shall be his abode. Now we don't even read such articles, such kitabs. Neither do we sit in such majalis where we can get this type of ilm. And this type of ilm is necessary. Allama Shami writes that just like how you need to know how to read salat, similarly you need to have that ilm. That ilm is for us and necessary for you to know how to read your salat. Similarly, ilmul ikhlas, the knowledge of ikhlas, it is farz and it is necessary. Also, the ilm of pride, the ilm of jealousy, it is necessary for every person to hold and to have such type of knowledge. It is only then that he will be able to stay away from pride and jealousy, because he has that type of knowledge which teaches him the reality of it, due to which he can now abstain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us steadfast on the deen, qaim and daim. Allah ta'ala give us fikr for our islah. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to say, listen to his example, the example that he gives, that he says, the asa, the staff of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, swallowed all the fake serpents of the magicians. He threw his staff down, it turned into a huge serpent, and what happened then? Everything else was consumed and the story was over. Victory. Similarly, if a person has fikr, he has a worry, he has a concern of his own rectification and reformation, fikr for his own islah, he has fikr of the akhirat, then what would happen? This type of fikr would devour, it would consume, it would swallow all type of base desires, shahawat, and all types of shubuhat, doubts. So the asal and the essence is fikr for one's islah and fikr for the akhirat. When a person has fikr for the akhirat, he has Jannah in front of him, Jahannam in front of him, then of course that's the essence. He will triumph, he will be victorious, he will achieve, he will go forward, he will gain everything. So it is to stay or to abandon this shahawat, the promptings of the nafs, the ego, these base desires. We will not fulfill that. And similarly, the shubuhat, these doubts. So these shahawat, it is related to our doings and our a'mal. And the shubuhat, it is related to our aqaid. The shahawat, it is attacking our a'mal because it doesn't allow us to carry out our a'mal. And the shubuhat, these doubts, will spoil, contaminate our aqaid. So what is it? ضبط قوة الغضبية والشهوية على وقف الشريعة. To keep in control the strength of your anger and the strength of one's carnal desires and lust. To keep it in control, not on any person's path. Not like how the yogis and these pandits do here in Allahabad, but rather upon the designated path of the Sharia. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all afiyat. Allah ta'ala give us fikr so that we can gain success, fikr for the akhirat and our islah, so that we can be successful in both the worlds. All our akabirin gave us this type of ta'aleem. Hazrat Maulana Tanvi rahimahullah, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saab, Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saab, all of them had to tell us the same thing. Nafs ki islah. Rectify, correct your nafs, reform your nafs so that you may be successful. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.